Hola, the name is Axeru, and today I'll be talking about the development process of my third game on Steam, Forest of Strays. But what is Forest of Strays? Forest of Strays is actually two games. Very similar to Soulful and Soulslinger, Forest of Strays also has an original version that was made for a game jam. I made the original version back in 2020, February 2020, for the Leap Year Game Jam. It was a very fun experience. It was the first game jam that I ever participated. At the moment, I actually just participated on two, the Forest of Strays one and Soulful one. But unlike Soulful and Soulslinger, Forest of Strays is actually the original version and the remake. Soulful and Soulslinger are actually two separated games that complement each other. Forest of Strays no. Forest of Strays, both games are the same, but one is the remade version of the original, right? And yeah, there's actually a lot to talk, so let's get right into it. Here on screen you can see the original introduction to the original Forest of Strays actually. At the time, Netherlamp did not exist, right? I created Netherlamp, if I'm not mistaken, in June 2020. So yeah, in February 2020, Netherlamp did not exist. So I released this game under the name of Spellcast Mirror. That was the previous name of Netherlamp, actually. And yeah, this is the original version, right, that I'll be showing you. But first, let me explain you a little bit of what is, like, the gameplay aspects of Forest of Strays. Forest of Strays is actually a 2D platformer, very simple, and has that kind of retro style to it, you know? It remembers a lot Super Mario and other games like that, right? Platformers, 2D platformers, where you jump through platforms and dodge traps and everything, defeat enemies, all that stuff, right? The original version was made in only 1 week, if I'm not mistaken. The game jam period was actually 1 week. So it was very fun. Like, it was very interesting to participate on my first game jam. At the time, I did not have a lot of experience. And yeah, all the stuff that I made in this game are actually kinda broken. On the original version, right? I fixed them on the remade version, right? The remake. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities between one and another. It's very interesting to see how everything works right now and how I first developed it in the past. So yeah, Forest of Strays, the Steam version that I released February this year, actually was released the same day the original version was released 4 years ago. So yeah, they actually have this connection between the two games. And the day could not be other than February 29, right? Since the game jam was for the leap year specifically, I released the original version when the jam ended. The jam ended February 29. And the Steam version of Forest of Strays I released February 29, 2024, right? Earlier this year. But yeah, it's been almost a year working on this game, on the remake version, right? And the original version only took me 1 week. So yeah, it's 1 week compared to a whole year of development time. Okay? Because even though I just started working on the remake version back in the first half of 2023, I've been thinking about this remake a lot. Like a lot earlier than that, right? Ever since I released the gem version of Forest of Strays, I decided that I wanted to make a remake, right? I want to remake this game someday. And yeah, later on that, I'm pretty sure that I'll have to talk about that later, because there's lots of stuff to talk about this game. This is like my biggest project of them all, my biggest game, right? And it's so exciting just to be able to talk about it. So let's see, okay? Without further ado, let's just show you the gameplay, right? So this is the original version, right? Spellcast Mirror that I talked earlier. This is the title screen of the original Forest of Strays. At the time, I didn't even know how to make a proper options menu, so I just did not make it for the game jam. So you cannot adjust the volume of the sounds, the music, you cannot do that. And imagine key bindings, like, I simply could not do that. I just recently learned how to make keybinds on my games, and the remake version of Forest of Strays actually allows you to rebind your keys, right? So it's a step forward and a step up in quality compared to the original version. But there's lots of those, right? Because in these 4 years, I learned a lot, right? All my games, Mario Moth, Soulslinger, and now Forest of Strays, were made after the original version. So 2020 was a wild year for me. It was my first year as a real game developer. Okay, so let's show you the lore, right? Oh yeah, so Forest of Strays is my first game that has a story, a proper story. Like, it has lore. Not just world building, like, if you watch the video on Soulslinger, you know that Soulslinger has a lot of world building, but pretty much no lore, right? There's no major story behind Soulslinger. Actually there is, but you simply cannot find it inside the game, right? It's just on my head, pretty much. But Forest of Strays is different, right? Forest of Strays has a little story. And I'll have to talk about that later again. So yeah, I'll first show you the project and everything, then I'll show you the gameplay and I'll read the story for you. Then we have the level, right? You can see it's a very, very, very long level. Since the game jam only allowed you to make one level per game, like, if you're going to participate on that game jam, you had to make only one level in your game, right? That was the limitation of the game jam. And yeah, I decided to go with a simple platformer. Very classic. And making one level, just one level, for a 2D platformer is actually easier than other games, you know? So yeah, I just made the assets, right? I just drew the sprites and everything, implemented them to the game, added the physics and stuff, and then just started placing them and testing the jumps to see if it was even possible, which is something very interesting because it's very easy to make impossible jumps in your 2D platformers, so it's very important to just test if the level is even beatable, you know? Oh yeah, the theme of the game is actually a forest, right? Hence the name, Forest of Strays. It's the forest where people get lost, you know? It's a mysterious forest. And you're basically controlling a little girl named Lost Girl, right? She does not have a name. None of the characters on Forest of Strays have proper names. Unlike Soulslinger, that some have, others don't, Forest of Strays, all characters have generic names, you know? For example, there is the Lost Girl, there's the Little Witch, there's the Mischievous Cat, and so on, right? So you take control of the Lost Girl, which the original sprite is this girl here. Kinda cute. I was still learning pixel art, right? As I like to say, I'm always learning, but I was not good at the time because I had pretty much no experience, especially in game development. I was just a beginner in pixel art and game development in general. So yeah, some of the sprites of this game are very clanky, kinda quirky, you know? Like, the shading is not consistent and everything, but yeah, I kinda like it. I kinda like this more freestyle, you know? It was fun to work on it. I remember that I had a lot of fun. Lots of fun working on the original version of Forest of Strays. Oh yeah, and this is the animation is very tiny. Okay, and then we have the final story and the other final story, right? So it is very wild because Forest of Strays was supposed to be made in only 1 week, right? So I had only 1 week to work on the entire game. And then I decided, why not make 2 different endings? Like, it was a very wild idea, and it's very satisfying to me that I actually managed to do that. Okay, so the gem version of Forest of Strays has 2 different endings, with 2 different final bosses, right? So let me show you a little bit of the gameplay, okay, why not? And then I'll read through the story for you and go on from there. Okay, so Forest of Strays, press enter. Let me just take that out of the way. Okay, one day a little girl lost her cat. It ran away into a forest, where it was found by a sad witch. But the girl, once inside the forest, loses her way back home. Right? So, this is the main story of Forest of Strays. You take control of a lost girl trying to find her cat inside a forest, but the cat was actually found by a sad witch. The sad witch, which I mentioned her earlier, that is the little witch, right? So, let's continue. And this is the game, right? You control the character, jump, collect leaves, jump through platforms. You see that the platform actually does not... You see that the player actually does not follow the platform, right? This is something that I actually addressed in the newer version of Forest of Strays, the remake. Yeah, so there's spikes and stuff. The abyss that I fell into. Oh yeah, so if you head to the left, there's just an invisible wall, right? You see that there's pretty much no animations to this version, like the platform is very stiff. And different from my more recent games, Forest of Strays did not have a color palette. Actually, I just handpicked some colors. Oh yeah, there on the left, you already can see a secret, right? A secret leaf. I'll talk more about them later, because they're very important. And then we have traps, like this spike trap here. This spike trap is one of my favorite traps that I created, and it remains not just from Forest of Strays, but for other iterations of 2D platformers that I made, right? Here we have the first checkpoint. Actually, this level has a total of 3 checkpoints, and this is the first one. This jump is very hard. Let me see if I can pull it off. Oh yeah, I did it. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, there's a secret here. Yeah, there's a secret leaf here. And as you can see, I was just having fun placing traps and platforms and leaves and everything. It was very fun, actually, making this game. But you can see that there's pretty much no enemies here, right? Because the original version of Forest of Strays only has 2 enemies, and they only appear in the later stages, right? Later stages, not like literally stages, but it appeared just later on the level. And here we have one of the main stars of the show, right? The sword. I can attack with the sword, right? And this is where the enemies come in, right? A checkpoint, and... oh, right. And a slime, right? The theme of the game jam was incongruent, right? So I have to make something did not make that did not necessarily make sense, you know? And then I decided to go with a Zod that do not harm but actually spread love, you know? So whenever you hit an enemy with a Zod, they actually become your friend and help you in some way. Like for example, this slime just let me jump on it. And this is necessary to progress through the level, right? You can see down there another secret leaf on the left. And you can see that there's a lot of very clanky and strange stuff about this game. Like, everything is very stiff and not very dynamic, you know? I remember that it was very hard to make the slimes work. Like, they simply did not want to work properly, so I had to work a lot on them just to make them work. And still, it's not good. Like, you can see that slimes are very, very clanky, you know, very quirky. Oh god, okay. Right. Okay, but I think that's it, right? The next checkpoint is just the ending, but I'll show that later, right? Okay. That is Forest of Strays, a simple platformer where you control the little girl and everything, and use the sword to attack enemies. That's it, right? And the story is that you actually enter the forest, searching for your cat and everything. So you're basically lost inside the forest, trying to find your cat, you know? And as you can imagine, that's the ending of the game, right? You just found your cat. But that's not simple as that, right? Because as it was said in the introduction story, the cat was actually found by a witch, right? A sad witch. And this witch simply do not want to give the cat back, because she basically adopted the cat. So you have to fight her, you know, and that's the final boss of the game. Here you can see the entire level, right? Like all the platformers, like all the platforms and everything. I keep saying platformers, not platforms, sorry about that. There's lots of trees and stuff on the background. Actually, the sprites are very simple and minimalist. Like you can see, the dirt block is just a solid block of color, like a solid block of brown. And the grass has a little shading, you know. Oh yeah, this is the sword, right? And this blue rectangles here are actually these lines, right? Keep in mind that I never had made any enemies on any game before this one, right? So this slime is actually the first enemy that I ever created for any game of mine, you know? So that's why they're pretty strange. They don't work properly most of the time. Yeah, another part of the level. Oh yeah, and I haven't reached here, right? This is a ice stone, the second enemy of the game, right? This is an enemy where it just stands still, right? It just stands there. And when you hit it with a sword, it actually becomes a solid block, you know? So you can just jump on it and use it as a ground. But if you just touch it before attacking it with a sword, you will just die, you know? It's very simple, but you can see here, like in this spot here, that it's kinda tricky, because you have one of those spike traps, so you have to be very fast on attacking its eye and jumping on it, to not get hit by the spike trap, right? Lots of them, lots of those eye enemies, and here we reach the ending, right? Let me just do some stuff here, okay? Okay, so what I'm doing right now is just moving the character, the player, later on the stage, right? So I can show you the boss battle. Okay, so let's hit play. Okay, here we are at the last checkpoint. I have the sword because I gave it myself. And here we have the shrine, okay? This shrine is very important in both iterations of Forest of Strays, in this one and the remake, right? I tried to keep everything similar as possible to the original, right? Later you see this shrine again, but in the newer version, right? The remake. And here we have the last checkpoint. This is a very special checkpoint because it marks the start of the boss battle, right? When I just go through it, oh, right, I know what happened here. Okay. You see, game development is not as easy as it seems. I forgot that I have to do this for it to work properly, right? Now it should be working. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now you can see that the music changes, right? The music changes when you go through this checkpoint to a more action music, you know? A boss music. And here we reach the witch's hut, right? This is where your cat is, this is where the witch lives, and this is her home, her house. So whenever you enter here, she just attacks you. And here's your cat, by the way, on the chest. And you have to hit her with the sword. Remember that in this version, the sword actually spreads love, so you're just trying to convince her in a very, very strange way. Sorry for the screen flashes, right? Oh yeah, and here's the second stage of the boss, right? Where she just literally throws you your cat. And you have to ping pong it around, you know? And the witch failed, actually. You just beat her on the battle. And after the battle, the witch gave the cat back. She helped the lost girl to come back home. The end. So this is actually a very sad ending, because imagine, okay? So you just enter the witch's hut, you know, and just attack the witch a lot. You two battle, and then you just take your cat back and return home, right? And the witch is left alone, because you just took your cat back, that, as I mentioned earlier, she already had adopted it, so she was not very sad, because she actually got the cat back, you know? Actually, no. She was not very sad, because she already got a cat to make her company. But then, you go there and, no, that cat is mine, you know? And then you just take the cat and go back home and leave her alone there, you know? After a fight, you're probably not good friends, you know? So yeah, so she just let you go and keep sad, you know? You just make the witch even sadder, you know? Just make the witch a lot more sad. So this is not a good ending, because yeah, it just works out for the protagonist, you know? She just gets her cat back, but the witch is left very sad. It's not a good ending, you know? It's not a very friendly ending. So let me just show you the second ending. I'm mistaken, it's this and then this, okay? Oh yeah. Remember the secret leaves? Well, if you collect all secret leaves, you actually unlock the second ending. Remember when I talked that this shrine is very important? This is why it's important. You can see that the leaves are actually completed down here, you know? It's like I collected all those secret leaves, you know? And when I just jump on here, it just spawns another leaf. It spawns a golden leaf that you can collect it, and it changes everything. Remember when I said that I made 2 endings with 2 different bosses in them? That's right, this is the second ending with the second final boss. You'll not be fighting the witch here. You'll be fighting another person? Can I call it person? I think I can. Oh, by the way, again, sorry for the screen flashes, right? And here we have the cat. Basically, the cat just... Oh, okay. The cat just took the golden leaf, and using its powers, it became the second final boss, right? The true final boss. This fight I made in a very late at night, you know? I just made this fight very, very late at night. It was like 6 AM when I finished it, something like that. 6 AM, 4 AM, I don't remember exactly. But yeah, you can see its health bar down there. And this is kinda creepy, you know? He's very strange. And then it just ends like that, you know? Very abrupt ending. Oh yeah, so let me just read to you the story. After the battle, the cat gave the golden leaf back. It apologized, and the 3 of them became friends. The end. Okay, so what happened here? This is very confusing in this version, because it's the original version that I made in only a week, keep that in mind. And the cat boss battle, I made late at night. So I spent a whole night awake just working on the cat battle. And I was very sleepy, and it was very stressful. So this is why it actually ended up looking like that, because I did not have enough time, and I just worked a lot that day. And of course, the lack of experience helped a lot to make this simply not work the intended way. Okay, this cat has lots of bugs. You can see that it actually behaves very strangely. But yeah, I just ended up leaving it this way, because it doesn't matter, you know, it's just a game for a game jam. It's not supposed to be polished, you know, it's not supposed to be completely functional. It's just supposed to be a prototype of some sorts. Okay, but what happened, right? This is a very nonsense story. It makes a little bit of sense in the remake version, right? The remake actually has less text, less story pieces, but it makes a little bit more sense, right? Here, you just collected all the secret leaves, right? The secret leaves have the power to summon the golden leaf, right? So with the golden leaf, a magical artifact that is very powerful, actually, and in the lore of the game, the witch was actually after this golden leaf for a while, you know, she was searching for this leaf for a while, but then the lost girl accidentally stumbled upon it, you know, on the shrine. But the cat is very mischievous, you know, hence the name Mischievous Cat. He's the mischievous cat. He knows about the power of the golden leaf, so he just wants the power of the golden leaf to himself, you know. He wants to become powerful and strong and everything, and he just waits till the witch or the lost girl finds the golden leaf and steal it and take it. And when he take it, he actually grow in size and become that large cat that you saw there, and start attacking the lost girl because he don't want to go back home, and actually he don't want to stay with the witch either. He wants the golden leaf. He just wants the leaf, you know. That's what he wants, because he's a power creep, you know. He's very selfish. But then, after you defeat him with the power of love and a sharp sword, he just gives the golden leaf back and apologizes, right? How do a cat apologize? The truth is that this cat can talk. It's not very explicit here, but this cat can talk. If it could talk earlier than collecting the... If it could talk before collecting the golden leaf, nobody knows. Or if he actually just started talking because he still had some reminiscent power of the golden leaf back on him, nobody knows, okay? There's no explanation to that. In my head, he always talked, right? Because he's a mischievous cat. He's not necessarily a cat, but a entity of some sort, you know? He's kind of powerful and he knows a lot more than it seems. So yeah, this is pretty much the original Forest of Strays. Like, you see that it is pretty much a giant level with some checkpoints here and there, with some secret passages and stuff. Some of them I actually kept to the remake. There's one very specific place that I showed you earlier that's very important, and I kept it on the remake, right? This place here. Remember this secret leaf? The first secret leaf that we actually come across? Let me show you how to collect it. Oh, if I actually can get up there, okay? Sorry. Okay, so if you have a very keen eye, you probably already noticed how to collect this key, this secret leaf. Okay, so how can I collect this secret leaf? My jump simply cannot reach there, you know? I simply cannot jump that far. That's because there is a secret platform here that's actually connected to this platform down here. You see? So if I just do this, I can reach it. Let me show you. You see, this is the section, right? And this is the secret platform that you have to jump on to proceed to collect this secret leaf, right? And this trick I decided to add in the remake as well, because I think it's very cool to have a secret where you have to jump outside of the level to get it, you know? It has a very secret passage. Oh yeah, but I believe that's it on the original version. You can see all the sprites here, like the witch, the little witch. You can see the cat's body, the cat's head, and the cat's eyes, and the cat's beam, you know. The little cat that's actually warped into a ball, you know. The witch is very cruel in a way, right? Like, she just wraps the cat in a ball and just throws it at you. I don't know why she do that, but I thought it would be very funny if she did that. That's why I made it this way. This is one thing that I wanted to keep on the remake, right? But I decided not to. I decided to just change her attacks, you know, a little bit. So she no longer throws the cat at you, she actually just throws a magic ball at you. Oh yeah, and the sitting cat is actually here. Yeah, see all those triggers, all those gray squares and stuff? Yeah, they're all triggers and relative positions to the final boss and boss attacks and everything. So this is the kitten, the mischievous cat, which in this version he was just called kitten, you know, because it was just a kitten. As you probably already seen, it still has that, it already had that malicious intent, you know. Not necessarily malicious, because he's not a bad spirit, you know, he's not evil, but he's just selfish, you know, that's what it is. That's what he is, he's just selfish. And then we have one last thing that I really wanted to talk about. The kitten picture, right? You see this picture here. Again, if you had a very keen eye, you have probably already seen it in the witch's house, you know, when I was fighting the cat and the witch. This picture was there. And this picture kinda adds a little bit to the lore. At the time, I only had an idea of what this picture would mean and would imply. Okay, but remember when the first story said that the witch was very sad? She was a sad witch, not a little witch. Well, she was sad because she lost her cat. This is why she was very happy to find another cat, you know? But she lost her original cat. And this is a picture of her cat. So what happened to it? I don't know. I still don't know, even after the remake. I have a few ideas of what to do with the mystery behind this cat. But one thing is for sure, right? The golden leaf is this cat. Let me explain, okay? Somehow, I still don't know how, but somehow the original cat of the witch, the original witch's cat, was actually transformed into the golden leaf. By other witch, by a curse, I don't know. I still haven't decided that yet. But it is the golden leaf. Or it's inside the golden leaf in some way, you know? Yeah, that's it. Like the cat, the mischievous cat, the grey cat, actually just takes the golden leaf and absorbs the power of the soul of the lost cat, you know, the other cat, the witch's cat, something like that. But the golden leaf has its own properties, it has its own powers, you know, outside of besides the power of the soul of the original cat, right? So the witch is sad because she lost her cat, you know, and she was searching for the golden leaf, probably because she thought that the golden leaf would help her find the cat. She was, in a way, right about that, because the golden leaf would actually help her find the cat, but not in the way that she thought. One last thing that I wanted to talk about the original version of Forest of Strays is the sound effects. Okay, the sound effects are actually from RPG Maker. I did not make them, right? They're just from RPG Maker. That I bought RPG Maker on Steam and extracted the OGG files from the engine and just use them in this game, you know? They're actually free to use, so there's no problem in that. But the music, my brother made the music. Again, this was the first game that my brother made the music for. And he made all the soundtrack of this game in like 3 days, something like that. And the remake version of Forest of Strays also has music made for him by him, also has music made by him, and there's lots of similarities between the two soundtracks. Like, he kept the most recognizable parts, like the most memorable parts of the soundtrack, into the newer one. So the new soundtrack is very reminiscent from the original soundtrack, but at the same time it has a lot of stuff new to it. Like, it has a lot of new stuff to it. So it's very good, very interesting. I really like the soundtracks that he made. Actually, I made Marimoth. I made the moth sprite of Marimoth. Remember that I said about it, that I talked about it on the Marimoth video? Yeah, I made it just listening to the original Forest of Stray soundtrack on loop. So it gave me inspiration to make a simple game, you know, to make a... like, to have that same vibes that I had when I was making this game, right? Because, again, making games is art, so there's a lot of inspiration attached to it, right? The programming part is just one step of the process. The other 90% of the process is just pure art, and even the programming has a lot of art connected to it. It's a kind of art, actually. And remember when I said about just picking blocks and placing them here? Keep in mind that I made these blocks, right? They were not here from the start. I just had to make the sprite, implement them into the game, and program them and everything just to make them work, and then start placing the blocks. So yeah, it was very, very fun. I really like working on games, and especially games like this that I made without much plan, you know, I just start working and that's it. I think they're very fun to work on. So even a very simple game like this one actually took effort, and I had to learn a lot of stuff just to make this thing work. You know, this game work, the original Forest of Strays work. And I'm still surprised that I managed to do it in only 1 week with the knowledge that I had at the time, right? Because I was learning Click Team, or game development in general, for like a year at maximum when I started making this. Like, not a maximum, if I'm not mistaken. I started working with Click Team in 2018 and released this game at the February 2020. So yeah, 2 years, 1 year and a half, something like that. You know, I was just making games with Click Team, and yeah, today I have all that time of experience, you know. Gosh, it's been like, it's almost 3 years that I released Marimoth on Steam. So yeah, time flies, right? And we keep growing, not just as professionals, artists, but also as people, you know? I learned a lot from all my projects. I like a lot to say that, just to emphasize the importance of looking back to your work and seeing how much you have grown, you know? If you're an artist, or if you just work on something, do that. Feel proud of yourself. It's not a easy work. If you're doing something, feel proud of yourself that you're actually doing something and getting better at it as time goes by, you know? Just go and do that. You can do that. Or like, I'm not good enough. You are good enough. Just do it, you know? Look, I look at this game today and think like, right, this is very bad, the sprites are very low quality. I could have done it a lot better, but at the time, it was my masterpiece, you know? It was something that I was actually very proud of, and for me, being proud of it back in the day makes me proud right now, because I actually managed to evolve and to learn new things from it, you know? And actually working on the remake of this game showed me a lot of that I actually improved a lot. So yeah, just go ahead and do it. Don't think that you're not worth it, or that your work is not worth it. It is, right? Just keep going, learning new things, making it better. And as time goes by, you look back on your old works and think, wow, this is very bad, but I'm very glad that I managed to do that. I'm very glad that I made that, even though it's not a masterpiece right now, even though that I know that I could make it a lot better. Feel proud of yourself for being able to make it a lot better, you know? It's not easy. Making anything is not easy. Art is not easy. Any work requires a lot of knowledge and stuff that you have to do, and it's very hard in many ways and has its challenges, but at the same time, if you like to do it, feel proud of yourself. Okay, so now let's move forward to the remake, right? Forest of Trees remake. It's almost been an hour that I've been talking here, so yeah, this is just for the original version. So let's head into the remake of Forest of Strays. Okay, so before I head into the details, like the development part of the remake, I want to show you the similarities between the characters from these two versions, right? Okay, so here we have a sprite. The old software that I really like to use to make my sprites. It's very, very good. I really like the software. Oh yeah, so first of all, here's the Lost Girl from the original version, right? The original Forest of Strays. And here is the Lost Girl from the newer version. Like, the style is very different. You see, like, this one's more slim and tall, while the newer version is actually more chunky, you know what I mean? Like, it's more wide and not as tall. So yeah, remember when I talked on, if you actually watched the Soulslinger video, I talked about the character model that I made, right? I always take the character from my previous games and just make it better to the newer games, right? And remember that I said that I took a character from Soulslinger to make the Lost Girl from Forest of Strays? That's right, that's exactly what I did. I actually took the Hatter sprite. You know, this character here. The Hatter from Soulslinger, as a playable character, I actually took her sprite and just modified it into the Lost Girl. So you can see a lot of similarities, like for an example, the skirt, you know? This is the most important stuff about this sprite is the skirt, right? And I decided to just keep it to the Lost Girl sprite. Since the original Lost Girl actually has a skirt as well. Actually, the original version has more like a dress, you know? But I decided to make it a skirt to give that more specific vibe. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but I think a skirt looks a lot better to her, and in this minimalist style of pixel art, it actually works a lot better. Oh yeah, so another similarity is the hair, like she still has the twin tails, right? But this time, the original version had a flower, you know, a tiny flower here. But the newer version actually has a ribbon. Oh yeah, so she just uses a ribbon on her hair, right? And the color of the eyes is pretty much the same. She's pretty much the same character, but with little differences. Tiny differences. And yeah, you can see the hair is pretty much similar to the Hatter one, but I changed some stuff. Like for example, this part here, I just made it a little bit more wide, you know, more open. And added the twin tails actually, but the skirt I just left the same, or pretty much the same, because animating skirt is not very easy, so I was very proud of how I did that on the Hatter sprite, so I decided to keep that to the Lost Girl. So here it is, right, you know, just skirt bouncing around, you know, just flying. Oh yeah, and then we have the jumping and falling, right? You see that she actually opens her mouth a little bit while she's flying, while she's actually falling, you know? So there's a lot of tiny little details on my games, like on Soulslinger, when you shoot with your revolver, the barrel of the revolver, the wheel actually, just spins, you know? It's very tiny, it's pretty much impossible to see during gameplay, but it's there. And like, Forest of Strays also has this kind of details, you know? Like the skirt actually lifts up a little and she just makes that face, you know, just like open a little bit her mouth. Kinda worried about where she will land, you know? Like, will she be safe? You know, where she lands? Like, will not be a spike or an enemy below her? She's kinda worried about that. And we have the attacking animation. Like, just attacking with the swords. You see that there's no slash here. There's no real attack with the sword. The reason for that is that the attack of the sword is actually a separated sprite to make the collisions work better, you know? I like to do it this way. I know that a lot of game developers actually like to make a one big sprite and make the animations and then add the hitbox later, but since Click Team allows me to do that, I just prefer to make the whole attack a separate sprite, so the hitbox is actually perfect, you know? The hitbox is actually very precise and accurate to the movement of the sword, you know? Oh yeah, so she's attacking. You can see that she actually just puts her sword down and then attacks upward. You know that there's one frame of preparation and then she leans forward and attack. There's a few details, like for example, you see there's 2 pixels missing. You may think that they're here by accident, you know, but they're not, they're actually here on purpose. The reason is actually the slash of the sword does not have an outline, so the outline would actually be in the way of the sword slash, you know. So I decided to take these 2 pixels away, so the slash actually perfectly connects with the character and actually feels like the sword is swinging, you know. And here is the finishing attack, like she finished the attacking and just like grinded her teeth even more, like she's applying force, right? To give that feeling that she's actually applying force. And then she's starting to rest, you know, she just started to rest from attacking. You can see that these 2 pixels of the sword actually return, because the slash is no longer here. This is actually the cooldown of the sword. This is when you already attacked, but you cannot attack again, because she, the character actually, the lost girl, had not recovered completely from the previous attack. Oh yeah, and then here is just her pulling her sword down even more and finishing resting, you know. One very curious thing that actually adds a lot to her personality is the confidence on her, you know. She's kind of worried about where she will land here because she's actually free falling, you know, she's actually falling. But here, when she's attacking, she actually is very confident on what she's doing, you know. So she's a very brave and bold character, like, but at the same time, she's kinda a little bit worried about her situation because she's actually lost inside a mysterious forest filled with traps and enemies and stuff. So yeah, I would be very scared as well. And here you have the original witch design, right? The original witch sprite. You see that she also has a skirt, right? Not necessarily a skirt, but actually a dress again. And her hair is kind of a mess, it's kind of different, you know. And she has a little ribbon on the back of her hair, like tying it up together, you know. So yeah, I think that's it for her design. It's very simple, you know, pink hair and stuff like that. And here is the newer version, right? She now has these kind of braids on the sides of her hair, you know. She still has the ribbon, and her clothing changed a lot. Like you can see from here that her clothing is very simple and low saturated. Here it's more saturated, and she actually is wearing a kind of a cloak, you know, and a skirt, but a different skirt from the Lost Girl, you know. The Lost Girl, actually this one, has a more wavy skirt. The Little Witch has a more flat skirt, you know, more like a dress actually. And this design of the Little Witch was actually inspired by a specific combination of cosmetics from Theory Park from 100% Orange Juice, a board game that me and my brother really like to play. If you follow my social medias, you'll probably already seen some fan art that I made of this game. It's very good, I really like it. And there is a witch character in that game that you can just customize her and make a very, very cute outfit. And that specific combination that I made for the character, I was so in love with it that I decided to add it into Forest of Strays. Actually, this happened with the original version. But the original version, since I actually lacked skill, you know, since my skill issue at the time, my low experience, I simply could not make it look very similar, you know, it was not kinda giving that vibe. But nowadays, with more experience and stuff, I actually made her look a lot more similar to the character from that game, you know. I remember to put a image here of this specific combination. So yeah, so you can see what I'm talking about. Then we have the kitten picture, right? The painting on the wall of the witch's house, you know, the witch's hut. Here's the original version, right? The one that I showed you earlier. And it actually came back on the remake, you know, I made it again. Using pretty much the same image, I just changed it a little bit, you know, especially the colors, and added more details, you know. I changed the colors because this one is actually very low saturated because it's in the background, you know. It's not on the foreground, it's not a important piece, it's just a detail, you know, it's just a furniture. So yeah, the cat is pretty much the same, as you can see here. Later, I'll talk about the cat bosses, you know. Actually, the mischievous cat has returned again because it's a remake, you know. But before that, I want to talk about the Lost Girl again, because the design of the Lost Girl is kind of it has a very interesting story, because back in 2019, I just made a pixel art of a girl that I named Lost Girl, and she had big twin tails, a kind of a wavy skirt or dress and anything like that. She was very worried, you know, red eyes. And then I don't remember consciously taking inspiration from this drawing to make the character design of the Lost Girl, but apparently in my head I already had the design of the Lost Girl completed, you know. This is a very old drawing, again from, if I'm not mistaken, second half of 2019, so months before I actually made the Forest of Strays for the Game Jam. And here is the Lost Girl, you know. Oh yeah, so both are actually named Lost Girl. This character, this drawing, is actually named Lost Girl. I named it Lost Girl. So it's very interesting to see how I took inspiration from a character that I created not very long before, but sometime before working on the Game Jam version, to the main protagonist of Forest of Strays. And it's interesting how it kept pretty much the same way after all those years, you know. Yeah, so that's very interesting to see. The palette that I use, the color palette actually that I use for Forest of Strays, the newer version, is the same color palette that I used for Merrymoth and Soulslinger. Merrymoth has little differences, you know, it's actually this color palette here. Actually, Merrymoth uses from this red here to this gray here. But Soulslinger uses from this red here all the way to this blue here. Bluish green. Yeah, this green shade here. This bluish green. This yellow I added later, but for another project, and I pretty much scrapped this palette because I already made a new one that I'm more satisfied with. So yeah. Let's go back into the remake. Here we have the Netherlamp presentation, right? The good old screen that you probably already seen on my other videos, if you watched them. Then we have the title screen, okay? Let me just play it for you. Oh, sorry for the spoilers actually, because I already have a save file here, and the title screen changes depending on the ending that you got, you know? Okay, let me just... Wait a second, let me just take that save file from here. Okay, now everything should be fine, okay, with a new save file. Sorry about that. I was going to show you that later, actually, but the title screen changes depending on the last ending that you got. Not the last ending, but the more advanced ending on the story that you got, you know? Because Forest of Strays, the original version, had only two endings, you know? The Little Witch ending and the cat ending, right? The new version, the remake, actually has three endings, with only two final bosses, but three endings to the game, you know? And the third ending is amazing. I'm very proud of it. Actually, remember when I said on the Merrymoth video that the Dragonfly was my magnum opus? Yeah, I think that both the last ending of Forest of Strays and the Dragonfly are very close together, you know? Maybe the ending of Forest of Strays is actually better because it has more meaning to it, you know? It's not just a boss, it has actually a ending, it is actually an ending that you can get, you know? It's actually something bigger and more meaningful than just a boss battle. Okay, now let me show you the proper main menu, okay? Let me just take this. Okay, here you have quit, options, and play. Very simple main menu, right? But it's a lot better than the Merrymoth and Soulslinger ones. If you hit settings here, options, you find this menu here, right? You have music volume, sounds volume, and VSync, this is very important, and language. This game is actually fully translated to Brazilian Portuguese, right? Então, se você fala português, você vai poder jogar esse jogo em português também, certo? Okay, and yeah, you can just really change the language of the game. I'll play in English, just so you can understand a little bit better. And here we have another button, right? Settings can turn into controls, right? You can just rebind your keys, you can just keybind. I really like this configuration here, because it's how the original game was played, you know? The original Forest of Strays, like I played the original Forest of Strays using these keys. That in that game they were actually hard-coded. Now they're dynamic, you know, you can just literally put any key here, you know? Yeah, that's it. You can just restart to default and delete your save, right? If you try to delete your save, it will ask if you're sure, and no is the main option, right? Oh yeah. So as you can see, this option menu is a lot more interesting and complex and more useful, essentially, than the previous ones that I made, right? Forest of Strays, not Forest of Strays, but Soulslinger and Merrymoth ones, you know? Actually, this option menu came after an update, you know, I added it later on an update. Because when I was making the game, I already knew that I wanted to make keybinds and everything, but I still didn't know how. And the options menu were actually very hard to work on, you know. They were actually very time consuming, you know. So I do not have enough time to make this fancy options menu before February 29, which was the release date that I expected the game to release, actually. And luckily, I managed to do that. I managed to release Forest of Strays on February 29. I'm very happy about that. It was very fun. But the options menu had to be delayed and added later, right? So in the first version of Forest of Strays, you only had music and sounds volume, right? That's the only thing that you had. Later on, I added the sync, language, and the controls, right? So now you can just hit play. This is the main difference between Forest of Strays, the remake, and the original version, right? The original version had only one single level, right? The remake actually has 16 different levels, and more 16 level variants for the challenge mode. So if you count the challenge mode as separate levels, you actually have 32 different levels in Forest of Strays. The remake version, this game actually, has 4 different worlds, 4 different stages with 4 levels in each, you know? Like have 4 different stages with 4 levels in each one of them. In total of 16 levels, right? You have the woodland, if I'm not mistaken, the grove, the dark woods, and the enchanted forest. Yeah, that's it. So let's just play the first level, right? Here you have the controls. It actually adapts with the controls that you chose from the option menu. So it's very dynamic, very good. And you can just move and jump. Fairly simple, you know? As you can see, this game is a lot better than the previous one. Not just in visuals, but everything, actually. You can see that the... Oh yeah, before that, the maple leaf here, you know, that secret leaf. Remember that I said that they actually came back here? Yeah, they are, but in a different way, you know. The platforms here actually work a lot better because you move with them. It was something that the game was actually needing a lot. And this is very similar to the beginning of the original Forest of Strays stage. As you probably already noticed, the jump height is actually hard-coded, you know, it's not dynamic. It's actually the same jump height every time you jump. So I decided to do it this way, not because I don't know how to do it dynamically, but because the original Forest of Strays was like this, and I really wanted to give that feeling of playing Forest of Strays, you know? And this kind of stuff may seem bad, but if I made it differently, I had to restructure the entire levels into something different, you know? And it would not look very similar to Forest of Strays, the original version actually. So I decided to keep it this way, so I can pretty much work in the levels the same way that I worked on the original version. And my avatar is in the way, but you have a bell here that you just ring, and yeah, you just progress to the next stage. Next level, actually. And this level here has the first enemy, the slime. If you jump on it, it will just let you jump on it, actually. It will just help you jump higher, but if you do that, you will just die. So you have to be very careful, and just falling into spikes actually kills you too. One day, I would really love to just record gameplay of the entire levels, like all the levels of Forest of Strays, you know, just me playing all the levels. That would be very fun, and talking about, like I'm doing right now, but in more details about the levels themselves, you know? Because there's a lot of tiny things in these levels. Do you see that platform right on the left? On the side of the slime, and in the left side of that log, on the tree branch. Yeah, that platform is actually connected to a bush, right? Every platform in the game is connected to a bush. Because I actually have OCD in real life, so this is a very strong OCD that I had with these platforms. They should not be floating. The moving ones, yeah, they can be floating, but the not moving ones, the simple platforms, must be connected to a block or a background. That's a must. So this is why there's lots of bushes in the background. In the end, that actually helps just give that forest vibes, you know? Remember when I said that the secret leaves actually work a little bit different? What I mean by that is that every level, every one of the 16 levels, has a maple leaf, right? Like this one that I'm about to collect. If you collect all 16 of these leaves, absolutely nothing happens, right? But there's actually 8 hidden flowers. If you collect 8 hidden flowers, you unlock the double jump, right? So with the double jump and all 16 leaves, all 16 secret leaves, if you actually defeated the normal mode, if you actually beat normal mode, you will unlock the challenge mode. And how it works is that the normal mode final boss is the witch, and the challenge mode final boss is the mischievous cat, right? If I'm not mistaken, no. Oh yeah, this level does not have a secret flower. If I'm not mistaken, is every first level and last level of each stage that has a secret flower. Ha! Missing the last jump is kinda sad. Different from the original Forest of Strays, if you head to the left on a level, you will just return to the level selection menu. If you go to the challenge mode, you can see that beat normal mode and collect 16 leaves and 8 flowers, right? So we have to collect all the secret leaves, all the maple leaves actually, and the flowers to proceed to the challenge mode. Here on the normal mode, you can see that in the first level, I actually got all the green leaves. You can know that by that tiny little white star right at the top of the green leaves, right on the left. You can see the number of green leaves that I actually collected on this level, which the maximum is just 16. So this is why I have that white star. You can see that I collected the secret leaf here, the maple leaf, but I did not collect the flower, right? And the other stages only have, like, you have to unlock them. To unlock them, you have to beat the previous one, right? So yeah, it's a very linear game, but it's very fun. It's actually a very challenging game as well. So yeah. And this is the title screen, as I showed you before, right? The lost girl just looking at a green leaf, because she actually just entered the forest, you know, here. It's just like, oh yeah, she just entered the forest to search for her cat. So she's just having a good time, you know, vibing. Now I can show you the levels. Right, this is the level selection screen, okay. This is the levels. Oh boy, there's a lot to talk here. As you can see, there's all the sprites right here. And here we have the enemies as well. Remember that cube enemy that I showed you on the original, that actually did not show you the gameplay on it, but the sprite and everything? Here it is again. Oh yeah, just without its eye. No, because the eye is separated, because the eye actually looks at you. There's all these enemies here, right? There's the slime enemy that just jumps and lets you jump on its head. There's the caterpillar enemy, the grub enemy, but actually just goes from left to right and right to left, you know. Very simple, very easy enemy to dodge. Then we have the grove grub, right? The grove grub is exactly the same thing as the green grub, but it's faster, right? It's a little bit faster. Then we have the cube enemy that I already showed you. Then we have the bat enemy. The bat enemy only appears on dark stages, right? I'll talk about that later, right? I'll show you that later. Then we have the spider enemies, right? They're still here for technical reasons, because Forest of Strays actually has dynamic sounds. You know, in my previous games, whenever something triggers a sound effect, it actually plays like for the whole world, you know? Every place of the screen can actually hear that effect. But in Forest of Strays, it's dynamic, so the sounds get louder the closer that you are to the trigger, and actually get weaker, like lower, depending on how far away you are from the trigger, right? So it's very interesting. And for the spiders, I actually had to make them 2 separate spiders just to make it work, because spiders are actually not synchronized with one another, you know? One very interesting thing about Forest of Strays, both the original version and each stage of the remake, is that every time that you reach a specific point on the stage, right? For an example, there's a moving platform and a grub enemy, right? If you hit if you reach that space, that specific part of the level, in the same time as you did before, the grub and the platform will be exactly the same. So the whole world is in sync, right? There's only a few exceptions, and the spiders are kinda one of them. They're actually in sync, but not in sync with one another, you know? I hope you understood. It's very hard to explain, sorry. But moving on, right? Then we have the eyeball enemy, right? The eyeball enemy just shoots at you. It's very simple, and it's very annoying. Oh my god, this enemy is so annoying. It can actually make the stage a lot harder. So when me and my brother were actually beta testing this game, I had to remove a lot of them and change a lot of these enemies, because they're actually making the game pretty much impossible. But yeah, they are one of those tiny little exceptions of the world in sync that I talked about right now. Because these enemies actually only shoot at you when you're close to them, okay? When you reach close to them. A certain distance, you know, like a screen distance, pretty much. So yeah, it actually varies. They do not shoot every specific amount of time. They shoot only when you're actually close to it. And then we have the spiked grub enemy. What's the main difference between the spiked grub enemy and the other grubs, right? This one is faster as well, and you cannot jump on its head. All of the other grubs you can jump on its head, the other two, but this one you cannot because it's spiked. So you just damage yourself, like fail, actually die. So yeah, we have lots of traps. You have the spike traps, the return of the spike traps. I really like the spike traps. I think they're very creative. But here they are more polished, you know, they're not just stiff, they're actually smooth. They have a smooth animation and everything. It's very, very fun. Not very smooth. Thinking about it right now, I could have made it a lot more smoother. But yeah, I like the way that they work here, especially in the remake of Forest of Strays. I think they're very, very cool. I really like them. Then we have the blocks, moving platforms. This game actually has vertical moving platforms, so elevators and stuff like that. The other platforms, like for example, you have the bridge platform, right? Sometimes in the stage you just find a bridge connecting one point to another. You probably already saw that, because if I'm not mistaken, every stage has at least one bridge. So yeah, I just made that for aesthetic, you know. And here we have all the grass types, you know. We have the grass 1, like the green grass. Then the grass from second level, which is a little bit bluish, like a bluish grass. Then we have the grass from the third level, which is actually purple. And then we have the grass from the fourth level. But this one is actually outdated. It only updates on the last levels, right? Because it's blue, completely blue. I was actually experimenting with colors for the grass of the next level, like the last level. And I tried red, but red or pinkish red did not look very good. It looks very ugly, to be honest. So I decided to change to whole blue, you know, it's very bluish. Last stage, I'll show you that later. Then we have the spikes, right? The spikes. One change on the spikes is actually on the sprite, because the original spikes were more pointy, you know, and they had those vines and flowers growing into them. But these ones, no, they're just normal spikes. I think they look a lot better. It's easier to read them, you know. And then we have spike balls. These ones are very interesting. I really like them as well. They're very challenging. They appear later on the game, right? Okay. Then we have the second level, the third level, the fourth level. And yeah, one very interesting stuff that I really want to talk about is that, okay, you can see which level has a flower on it, right? But only if you go back to the level selection menu, right? But that's not true. You can know which level has a flower from the very beginning of it. Okay, this level has a flower, right? I know that for two reasons. First, this is actually a fourth level. This is actually the last level of the first stage. So this has to have a flower, because every first stage and last stage of each world, each section of the forest, has a flower. But this one, like, let's suppose that you don't know that every first and fourth level has a flower, right? How do you know which level has a flower? A secret flower, actually, they're kind of hidden. Without going back to the menu. By this tiny little flower here. You see that flower that I'm touching right now? This flower here shows you that there is a flower to collect in this level, okay? So every level that you see a tiny little flower at the very beginning, that means that that level has a flower to collect. Oh yeah, here you can see the spike traps that I was talking earlier, with the dynamic sound effects, you know. It even like shows you that, okay, it's coming to the right. It's coming from the right, actually. And now it's coming from the left. I believe that it will not be possible for you to hear that very well on the video, but if you play the game, that will be very, very noticeable. And here you'll have another gimmick, right? Another trap. My avatar is in the way, but right on my right, there is a floating platform. This platform actually breaks when you stand on it. So you have a small period of time to actually jump from it, you know, and I failed. But yeah, this game has not all that many traps, like it doesn't have a huge amount of traps, like it doesn't have lots of traps, but it has very interesting traps interesting enough to make very hard combinations, like very difficult combinations, very challenging combinations. That's the word, challenging. Oh yeah, but yeah, that's it for the first world, right, for the first level. And then we have the second stage. The second stage, as you can see, again, there is a flower at the beginning, showing that this stage has a flower, right? This level has a flower. Here we have pits, right? Abyss. You can see that there is a abyss below me, actually. They have pretty much no difference between spikes and abysses, but yeah, they're kind of different because you can hide secrets in them, you know. I actually did that. I hid some secrets in some chasms, and it's very, very interesting. Not many secrets, just a few ones like flowers, and if I'm not mistaken, a maple leaf, something like that. Okay, so now it's a very recognizable place. Do you remember that one specific spot on the original Forest of Strays that I talked about, that you had to jump on a floating platform on top of the level, like outside of the screen, to actually reach the maple leaf? Yeah, it's here, it's back. But now it's not a maple leaf, it's actually a flower. So how do you reach there? You have to jump from this platform here. Oh, sorry, it's very hard to pull off actually. To jump from this platform here to this platform here. And then keep in mind that the secret platform at top of the level is actually connected to this platform right here on the middle of the screen. And then I can collect the secret flower, right? Oh yeah, but that's it. And here is a very important place, a very important spot on the entire game actually. This is where you collect the sword. Because of course the sword have to come back here, you know? Remember the sword shrine? Yeah, it's kinda back. It's very different actually, a lot has changed. But I'm very proud of this shrine. Like, you cannot jump over it, like, you have to collect the sword, right, to progress. And when you collect the sword, it actually shows you the tutorial on how to use it. And here we have the sword. With the sword, you can actually do a lot of tricks. You can just attack the enemies, to basically throw them away, you know, like... But you can also do a very interesting trick. Okay, so this was not on purpose, this happens by accident, okay? Me and my brother really liked this feature that was not on purpose, that I actually decided to leave it. Right, on my bug list, the list of bugs that I actually had to fix before releasing Forest of Strays, there was this one. But I decided to keep it this way, okay? So what I'm talking about is... if you attack with the sword, you know that... Okay, let me show you. You see that the sword attack actually are a few pixels below the player, right? Below the player's feet. So if you manage to hit an enemy with that, you can just jump on it again. And if you manage to do that, like in a good way, like in a perfect way, you can actually jump on it again and like cover a lot of distance. It's not very useful like that, you know, but it's very, very interesting. There are a few tricks that you can actually do with that and jump some specific parts of stages doing that. It's very interesting. Oh yeah, but this word actually makes a lot of things easier. One very interesting stuff about this game is actually you can get a sword from the very first level of the game. I believe that this first level is one of the levels with more secrets, you know. I'll show you that since it's a breakdown video, right? But keep in mind that if it's actually not obvious by now, there's a lot of spoilers here in these videos, right? So if you want to play the game, or if you don't want to know about the secrets and secret locations of stuff, sorry to warn you later, but yeah, there's lots of spoilers here. And actually, there is a hidden sword here. Do you see this tiny little log on the ground? If you look closely here, you can see that there is a X marking the spot, right? There is a X marking the wood, you know, like scratched on the wood. If you look even more closely, you can see that it kinda looks like a down arrow. And this is important because if you actually stand close to this one and just hold down, you will actually reveal a hidden sword, right? So why I did that? I did that for speedrunners. So if you actually like to speedrun games, this is very useful because with this sword, you can actually break these blocks. You know, this word allows you to break these blocks, and inside this block there is a hidden flower, right? So if you're trying to make a 100% speedrun of Forest of Strays, this is a very, very important trick that you have to know to not have to backtrack later on, you know? Because if you actually went to get the sword in the intended way, like in the second level of the second stage, and then go back to the first level, it will take a lot of time. So this way you can just collect the sword and the flower in one go, so you don't have to backtrack, you know? But that sword is not a intended sword, right? That sword is just a speedrunner sword. The intended way for you to get the sword is actually reaching Grove level 2, that you can actually collect it here, like I showed you before. And then we have the Dark Woods, okay? Or actually Deep Forest. The Deep Forest is a very interesting level, okay? Sorry if it's too dark, but that's the intention. The intention of this level is to be extremely dark, okay? So here we have the lantern, the second collectible item. Actually, there are 3 power-ups that you can collect in Forest of Strays. The first one is the sword, the second one is the lantern, and the third one is the double jump, right? So yeah, you can just power up yourself 3 times, pretty much. The lantern is very useful in these stages here, okay? So you can see it's pretty much obligatory for you to get it, like you cannot just don't collect it. So you have to collect it the first time you enter here. There is a secret. If you actually manage to get the double jump flower and come back to this stage here, to this level, you can double jump over this log and proceed without the lantern. If you manage to do that, there is a very interesting secret behind it, right? Oh yeah, now it's actually impossible because I'm not with my sword. Since I'm jumping from stage to stage without really playing the game, I don't have this sword unlocked. So it's literally impossible for me to progress through here, right? So yeah. One very interesting stuff that I want to talk about the dark levels is actually I plan to make dark levels on a dark section of the forest on the original Forest of Strays, but I simply didn't know how to do that, and it would take a lot of time to just learn how to do it. So I decided to not do that. I just scrapped that idea. But then when I was remaking the Forest of Strays for the Steam version, this version, I decided that it would be really cool to have a whole section of the forest, whole 4 levels, 8 counting the challenge variants, to be dark, you know, to have darkness. And I find it very interesting. I think these ones are my favorite levels of the entire game. They are very hard, but they are very interesting just because of this gimmick, you know, just because of the darkness mechanic, right? And then we have the final 4 levels of the game, which is actually the Enchanted Forest, okay? These levels here are very interesting. Okay, let me just give myself a sword, because I really need it. Sword unlock? Well, okay. Now I have the sword, right? You see these tiny little gray or silver spikes on the ground? Yeah, it's a bear trap. This level actually has lots of bear traps. They are actually introduced in the darkness levels, which is very mischievous of myself to add them on the dark levels, you know, to introduce bear traps in the darkness levels. which is very kind of interesting because you can only see what's very close to you, right, on those levels. And then suddenly there is a different trap on the ground that's very subtle, and then you die. And why did I die? Like, what happened? And then you go back again, and then you see, oh, there's a bear trap on the ground. That's the feeling that I want to give with introducing the bear traps in the dark stages, right? Here we have a spider, right? A simple spider. But the bear traps, how do you collect this leaf? You can disable the bear traps with the sword, right? This level actually adds floating islands. Again, nothing very interesting to them, just visually interesting. Oh yeah, and the spinning spike balls. They are actually very dangerous. And in the challenge mode, there's lots of them. But keep in mind that only the spike ball actually hurts. The chain does not, okay? The chain is just visual. Okay, this is the last level. Okay, this is the last level. Let me just give myself a sword permanently. Right. And here we have the boss level. Remember when I said that the bosses actually returned to the remake, from the original to the remake? Oh yeah, so the last level of the entire game is completely dedicated to them, right, to the bosses. You can see that there is actually a hidden flower here. And here we have the shrine, okay? Remember that I said that shrine is actually very important in both games? Okay, so the original version, the gem version, the shrine was important because if you collected every secret leaf, it unlocks you the golden leaf so you can fight the cat and get the good ending, right? Here, it has not only that purpose of if you reach this shrine on the challenge mode, the golden leaf will appear, but also on the normal mode, you have all these 7 flowers down there that if you collect every single flower of the entire game, if you reach here, like if you actually get here with all those 7 flowers, the shrine will spawn the 8th flower, right? And the 8th flower will actually grant you Dumble Jump, that you can actually jump up there to collect that maple leaf. But I'll show you that later, right? I'll first show you the boss. Okay, so here we have the boss battle. Okay, the witch is pretty much the same, right? Here's the cat, okay, the little cat, the mischievous cat. And here you just have to do the exact same thing that you did with the witch in the original version. Some very interesting stuff is that the house is very different. You can see that the window is different, you can see the picture of the lost cat up there. You can actually see a piano. The reason why there's a piano in her house is because she actually plays the piano. This is to give that feeling that the witch is actually playing the soundtrack of the game, you know. And here you have the other like phase of the fight, other stage of the fight, and it's pretty much the same thing. You have to play ping pong with her, you know. Oh yeah, so this is actually kinda easy. Like, Parts of Strays is not a very good game to have complex boss fights. Like Marimok, for an example, that had those very interesting boss fights. Parts of Strays is not a good game to have that, so I decided to keep it very simple. Oh yeah, when you defeat her, she just stays there on the ground, like resting, very tired of the fight. And then you have the ending. The end. After the battle, the witch returned the cat to the lost girl and helped her to get back home. Pretty much the same ending that you get by defeating the witch on the original version, right? And then we have the credits, like game made by Netherlamp, my name, right? João A. Chibes, which is my name, aka Exodus Solus. Soundtrack by Edipo Chibes, my brother, right? Thank you for playing. Okay, oh yeah, my avatar is in the way, so sorry about that, but every ending has a different image on the background, right, to illustrate the ending. And after you do that, you can just go back to the menu, and the image is different, right? Yeah, again, my avatar is in the way. I'll make sure to put in the video editor the images, right, so you can see them more clearly, you know, without my avatar in the way. So in this image, you can see the little witch on the right side, right, and the lost girl and her cat returning back home on the left, you know. And the girl is actually with the sword. Like, this ending, this image is to imply that this adventure changed all of them, right? The witch is very sad, like, yeah, what a bummer, like, I lost another cat, you know, and lost a fight to that girl with the sword. Yeah. And that's it. This is pretty much the normal mode, right? So you can just beat it fairly easily. The normal mode is very simple, right? Let me show you the true fun actually starts on the challenge mode, right? Let me show you the double jump, okay? So if you come here with all 7 flowers, right? Right, so you're here with 7 flowers, and then look what happens. Yeah, the 8th flower just spawned, and then appeared double jump unlocked, right? So you just unlocked double jump. And now you can return to the previous stages to collect the maple leaves that you actually could not collect, or actually haven't collected yet, you know, it actually made it easier to collect them. But most likely, when you collect this flower here, the only maple leaf left for you to collect is actually the one up here, right? You collect it, and that's it. I would like to show you that later, but there's a very, very interesting secret here that I think that I'm going to show you right now, right? This secret is very interesting, and it's one of the most important secrets of the entire game. This is new content. This was not in the previous version, in the original version. This is something that I added exclusively in this new version, right? If you have the double jump, you can do this. Yeah. There is a hidden platform up there. This hidden platform allows you to go over the witch's house, right? And then you reach this shrine here. I'll soon show you the shrine. I'll just show you the the witch and the cat. Like, they're just having fun there, you know. The witch is very happy because she now has a cat, and the cat is very whatever, you know, cats. And here we have the secret shrine. This shrine is extremely important. This is how you unlock the third and last ending of the game, okay? I'll talk about it right now, okay? I'll show you the process and the steps of how to get it. It's kind of complex. It's a very, very big process that you have to do. You have to play pretty much from the entire game again. But yeah, you have 3 tips, okay? You have 3 simple tips here. You have the lantern and a block signal, like you cannot have the lantern. This means that you have to jump over the lantern on the first level of the dark stages, right? You just progress through them normally, but go back to them when you have the double jump and just jump over the lantern and not collect it, right? Just continue playing. When you finish all the dark levels, you will reach the first level of the last world, which will have a secret blue leaf waiting for you there, right? You have 3 blue leaves in the entire game, right? 3 blue leaves in the game. And collect 3 blue leaves and beat the challenge mode, you unlock the third ending, right? The second tip is actually a hourglass. and a down arrow, but not just a down arrow, but a key down. Like you have to hold the down key for a while in somewhere. Remember when I talked about the secret word for the speedrunners? That's pretty much the same thing, right? You just have to find a specific place and hold down for a while, and then you unlock the second blue leaf. And the third blue leaf is actually the sword, but not just any sword, the sword that's actually on the ground, you know? Not the first level sword, I'm talking about the where you collect the sword usually, right? Where you usually collect the sword, something. An interrogation point, like something you have to do there. It's kind of obvious when you get there, right? If you just jump through here, you will return to the main menu. And yeah. I'll show you later the blue leaves, okay? I'll just show you the challenge mode first, okay? Like, this is the first stage of the challenge mode, right? So, you already have the bear traps here. Oh yeah, I already have this word, right? Okay. You already have the bear traps and the dart traps. Actually, dart traps were introduced in the last stages, right? I did not show you that. But they're very interesting because if they see you, if you actually enter in their line of sight, they will shoot you after a delay, you know. They'll just wait a moment and shoot you. And they have a tiny little moment to recover. You can see that I can stand on top here, right? And pretty much the challenge mode is... Okay, so you already have to have the double jump here, right? So the secret of the challenge mode is that every level has every trap of the entire game, okay? And has more enemies and stuff like that, so... Okay, I forgot about that, okay. Wait a second. Just wait a second. I'll give myself double jump, okay? Oh yeah, now I have double jump. Oh yeah, so if you reach here, you have to have the double jump, you will have to have the sword, you have to have everything, because you have to beat the normal mode and collect every secret collectible there. Except the blue leaves, of course, because the blue leaves are special. And these levels are very hard, okay? The challenge levels are called challenge for a reason, okay? As you can see. But yeah, they're just variants of the original levels, the normal levels from the normal mode, but with more traps and enemies and stuff like that. And little changes on the layout and the overlay. But yeah, you have all the stages, all the levels, you have new traps actually. You have 2 new traps if I'm not mistaken, which is the spike cone, which is just a spike that drops from the leaves from the trees, like this one here. Okay, let me show you. Like this one, if you get too close to it, it will just drop down, and if it hits you, you're just dead, you know, you just die. And then we have the spike ground, okay? A block that is covered in spikes, right? So you cannot touch that block, it just appears on the dark levels and on the last levels, right? Oh yeah, like this one here, okay? So if you touch this ground here, you're just gone, you know? And dark levels actually does not have the lantern here, because you are already supposed to have the lantern here. Since I, again, was jumping through the entire game, I don't have the lantern here, so it's pretty buggy. So if you unlock the lantern, which, again, you cannot reach this point without having the lantern. Oh yeah, now everything's working. Oh yeah, this is the dark levels on challenge, okay? This one is very hard, okay? The dark levels on challenge, I believe they are one of the hardest stages of the game. But I still find the last stage, like the third stage from the last world, like right before the final boss, one of the hardest stages of the game. The hardest stage of the game is actually a secret bonus stage, that I'll soon talk about it, that I'll soon show you actually. That stage has lots of different stuff on them, so it's kind of interesting. Yeah, but that's it. Just a harder version of the level. But remember when I talked about the lantern? Oh yeah, this is the lantern shrine, okay? This is where you would collect the lantern usually. Now it just has a leaf, right? A green leaf. This actually implies that there is a big time skip between the normal mode and the challenge mode. So the girl actually got her cat back from the witch, but then the cat returned to the witch. And now she already knows the path, so she just gets her sword, gets their lantern, gets the double jump flower, and just go to the journey again to find her cat. But now she already knows where the cat is. But then she finds herself having to evade, having to dodge lots of traps, because it's implied that the witch actually placed all those traps, you know? Because she don't want the lost girl to actually find her again, because they're pretty much enemies right now, you know, in this point of the story, okay? And this is actually very... Okay, so this is the normal mode, right? Group 2. I don't want group 2, I want group 2 challenge. Oh yeah. Here. This is the challenge version of the level where you collect the sword, right? Oh yeah, the sword would be right here, where I am, but the shrine is completely broken. You can see that is a very strong indicative of a time skip, you know, because probably a lot of time has passed. So enough time for the shrine to actually deteriorate and break down, you know, and just be a ruin. Okay, and now to the last levels of the challenge mode. Okay, I want to show you the fight with the cat. Okay, so let's suppose that I actually beat the entire game and just finished the challenge mode and reached this stage here, the last stage of the challenge mode, alright? Here, this happens. Yeah, the golden leaf is back, and you can just don't collect it, but if you simply do not collect it, you can see that the door is actually locked, so you have to collect the golden leaf. And then here, this happens. Oh yeah, so the cat steals the golden leaf and just appears as this giant cat from the ground. You see that this is a lot better than the original version, right? And that meow sound was actually made by one of my cats. My brother just recorded one of my cats meowing and placed it into the game. Curiously, that cat is also gray. So yeah, the mischievous cat was pretty much inspired by one of my real life cats, you know. So it's very fun to just hear my own cat meowing in my game. It's very interesting. Yeah, so you see that I'm just fighting through it because I already know its patterns. Now it reached the second stage, right? Oh yeah, so this battle is actually very long, as you can see. But I believe it will end right now. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, so the cat just fails to defeat you and just falls down to the ground after leaving the golden leaf behind, okay? And then we reach the second ending, which is the end. After the battle, the cat apologized for his misbehavior, and the three of them became friends. Right, so this ending is pretty much the same ending of the cat ending of the original version, right? So all of them became friends, because the witch didn't know the intentions of the cat. She didn't know that the cat would steal the golden leaf and become that giant monster, you know? So when she noticed that the cat actually stole the golden leaf, she was like, oh no, I know what's going to happen right now, I'm just going to run, and just disappeared, right? She was not expecting that. And then, you have to face your own cat in the end. And after you defeat it, the cat just, okay, you are now worthy to become my master, right? The cat just accepts the lost girl as his official owner. And the witch actually comes back, and all of them became friends, because the witch actually found the golden leaf as well. Remember when I said that the main objective of the witch was actually to find the golden leaf? Yeah, the lost girl actually helped her a lot to find the golden leaf. The lost girl found the golden leaf for her, you know? So yeah, all of them are happy here, like they're friends and stuff, but keep in mind that the witch still does not have a cat. She's still kind of sad because she's very alone. Well, she has a friend and her friend's cat, but she does not have a cat for herself, you know, because she still is, like, she's still mourning the disappearance of her previous cat. Now, with the golden leaf, you may think, okay, so she'll find a way to bring her back, right? No, because the witch simply don't know how to do that, you know? So it will probably take a lot of time. And now comes the secret ending, okay? The ending where you save your cat. Not your cat, but your cat and the witch's cat, okay? So to unlock this ending, you have to have defeated the cat, right? You have to have defeated the challenge mode boss. Oh yeah, so if you have defeated the boss, the cat boss, and just go back to the shrine on the challenge mode, okay? Let me show you the shrine on the challenge mode, because the shrine on challenge mode is actually present as well, you know, with all the secrets in it, okay? So, oh yeah, the golden leaf will appear, everything. Oh yeah, so you just have to jump over here and go to the right of the witch's house, right? And here we have the shrine. But notice that the tips are actually gone, right? So you have to go back to the normal mode and redo the tips, you know, like see the tips. To see the tips, you have to go to the normal mode, and to actually complete the puzzle, you have to come to the challenge mode, right? So let's do that. Let's just do that and then wrap it up with some curiosities about the game, right? Because it's actually a very, very long video. Forest of Strays is so interesting. I really like this game. It's like one of my biggest projects, and I'm so proud of it. Okay, so let's do that. Deep Forest, right? Deep Forest 1, where you would collect the lantern normally, right? You can just double jump over here and proceed to beat the stage this way. If you do that with all the normal stages in the dark, with all the dark stages in the normal mode, like without the lantern, you'll be rewarded with a blue leaf, right? Let me just finish the last level so you can see that, okay? Okay, so you can see that I have the lantern here, right? Using the power of the development mode, I can just take the lantern away, you know? I can just leave the lantern there and then go. But if I'm not mistaken, that's not enough. I'll have to change another variable. Wait a second. That'll do that, okay? I failed. Okay, now the lantern disappeared because I failed the level and does not have the lantern unlocked here. Okay, so I do not have the lantern in this section of the level, right? In this section of the world, the forest. But keep in mind that if you come back to the menu and go to the dark stages, you actually have the lantern, right? So to access the dark levels, like the true darkness levels without the lantern, you have to finish them in order, right? You have to finish them from the first one to the last one in order, right? You probably can see a ping right now because, well, it's very, very dark. Luckily, when you get here, you already have the double jump, so it's easier. Oh yeah, and the blue leaf is not here because I forgot to change a variable, right? Which is the... let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Keep in mind that it's been actually 6 months since I last worked on this game, so yeah, I don't know where everything is. Music post transition, control, not here. One leaf can leave. Oh yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's in the lantern unlock, something like that. Yeah, that's it, okay? So if you actually manage to do that, to proceed through the dark levels without the lantern, you'll be rewarded with this blue leaf here. You see this blue leaf here? Oh yeah, it's now collected, okay? So this blue leaf is now collected. Just for the sake of doing it, I will just collect it on the development mode, so it would 100% appear there. But don't worry, okay, so if you do that and collect the leaf, everything will be fine, okay, so you have that leaf unlocked, okay? So the first tip is already done, okay? So let me just show you a little bit of how it appears on the shrine, right? Let me just show you how it appears on both shrines, actually. The normal mode and the challenge mode, right? The normal mode shrine, it just lights up blue, the tip, okay? Like this, okay? So you see that? This means that you already collected this leaf, okay? I'll show you on the challenge shrine after I collect all those 3, okay? The second leaf is actually very hidden, okay? So if you don't want spoilers on this one, please don't watch it, okay? Because this one is very hidden. So it's in the second level of the woodland on the challenge mode, right? So you have to be on challenge mode and come to this level here, the second level of the challenge mode. And just proceed normally, just beat the level. And if you play this level and notice this hourglass up there, well, now that you got the tips, you already know what to do with that, right? So if you just stand in this platform here, anywhere in these 3 blocks here, and just hold down for a while, you will find the second blue leaf. And that's it, right? Now you have this second blue leaf unlocked. Just do this here. Oh, this here. Okay, and now for the third blue leaf, remember that was the place where you'd find this word, usually, but with a interrogation point, right? This is very kind of hard for you to find it, but at the same time, it's very easy to find accidentally, you know? Let me show you. Okay, so in the challenge mode, in the second stage of the grove, where you find that ruined shrine of the sword, you know? Here, you can see that something will happen, right? Look at the bottom right, okay? The bottom right that has that pit, you know, that abyss. You see that a tiny little blue waves will start appearing, right? And they will disappear soon after. If you fall down Sorry about that. Okay, so if you found out right there, you actually find a secret level. This level here. This is the bonus level, right? This stage is so hard. This stage is actually extremely hard. Like, it's the hardest stage of the entire game because you have to do very specific stuff to progress through it. Like, there's parts closer to the ending of the stage that you have to do very tricky maneuvers. You know, remember that trick that I showed you with the enemies that you just attack it from above and jump on it while it's dying? Yeah, you have to do it here. You have to know how to do that consistently to progress through this level, right? And if you reach the ending of this level, you'll find the third blue leaf. Okay, I'll not go through it because it's very hard. It would probably take me half an hour just to progress through it. So it's not the main reason of this video, it's just to show you stuff. So if you actually want to play it, you can just go ahead and play it. It's a very hard level, and I recommend you take your time with it, right? Okay, so now that I have all these leaves, all the secret leaves, okay? I have all the 3 secret leaves, the blue leaves. I go to the shrine on the challenge mode, right? If you go to the shrine on the normal mode, all the tips will just be blue, right? It will just be blue tips. But you have to go to the challenge shrine, okay? The trick is, you have to collect the golden leaf. But do not enter there, okay? Do not enter the house, okay? Collect the blue leaf, the golden leaf, and just jump over here. Right? To here, okay? And now you can see that all the 3 blue leaves are actually up there, okay? I believe that's it, okay? That's Forest of Strays. There's lots of stuff that I would have to talk about actually, but the video is already too long. And yeah, there's actually another project that was supposed to be the spiritual successor to Forest of Strays, but I never finished. And today, I'm actually very glad that I remake the original Forest of Strays, you know? You can get it on Steam, and if you want to play the original version, you can find it on itch.io, on the Netherlamp page, right? It's completely free, just go ahead and take a shot, if you want to. And if you're interested, consider getting the Steam version, like the remake of Forest of Strays. I think if you like platformers, 2D platformers, especially challenging platformers, you would really like Forest of Strays. So this game means a lot to me. Like, remember when I said that I had 3 first games? Yeah. I have Forest of Strays as my first game that I ever finished, I have Mario Moth as my first game that I ever released on Steam, and I have Stone Souls as the first game that I really worked as a, like, seriously, you know, not for a game jam, but for the intention of publishing it on Steam. So I still consider Forest of Strays my first game, and the remake is so good. Like, it's very interesting to see how much I evolved in 4 years, how much everything just came together. It's so fun. And to remember how it was to develop Forest of Strays the original, and remember how my life was at the time, and how it is right now, how everything changed, and some stuff got lost in the way, but at the same time that's fine, you know, that's part of the life. So I'm very happy to remake Forest of Strays. I was very happy to publish it, especially in February 29. This was an amazing joke, a personal joke of me, of course. So yeah, there's a few things that I really wanted to talk about as well, like the bonus level the oldest version of the bonus level, right? Because I had a few iterations and I just saved one of them. And the pause menu is actually a lot more complex than the other games. It's more complete, more professional, as I might say. But yeah, okay, so thank you so much for watching. Again, I really hope that you enjoyed it. Sorry for my broken English, I like to apologize for that, because sometimes it gets very hard to understand what I'm saying. So thank you so much for being here with me, for being interested in my projects, in my games. This wraps up, at the moment, all the games that I have released on Steam. So thank you so much, I really appreciate that. Até mais.
the time